Today, I want to talk about my observation as to why I think people are upset about the retirement age debate, about the retirement age going up, and why there's a problem with the government subsidizing people to retire, and why it's not healthy for people to retire for too long, all these things. I think a lot of these things are true, okay? And this is the Shapiro debate. This is what he's saying. People are really upset with him, and it's on the right, which I'm shocked by. But at the same time, I do think there's a mercy seat issue. And the mercy seat problem is the fact that there's an emotional side. Let me first talk about this other side, because there's many sides to this that I want to address. But the first side of it is you could have an Asian family with their grandparents in the house like they would have at a different time in their own country, let's say, air quotes. I'm just trying to be hypothetical here. And they're culturally different than the people next door whose grandparents are down the street. My grandparents decided to either be in an old home, one is, and the other one decided to have their own apartment and to check their vitals every day. That's my grandfather. And they've been retired for 40 years. I don't remember them ever working, like ever. My grandfather became the fifth best line dancer in the world. He taught me how to be a line dance teacher. He invested in me to ensure that before my class graduated, I could graduate. So I left high school early because of him, because he's a mathematician. He became a master at mathematics. He likes dancing and checking his vitals because he's, a health nut. And that's how he's spending his days, is keeping himself healthy and focusing on these things. So he's self-motivating. This is not all people. And just the same, just like not everybody could be retired for 40 years and be happy because of it, like my grandfather. Not everybody is a Shapiro. I'm going to be honest here. And I think that's the mercy seat problem. The issue is not everybody graduates before their class like Shapiro did. And mine's different. I left. I think he graduated because he was actually fast and, smart, and he has a very high IQ. He was writing for, really important public articles at around 20 years old, and he was in Harvard. He is just motivated, and he always has been. As part of his personality. It's a personality type thing. And so he made a comment about you about deserving to retire. It's like, it's not a question if you deserve it. It's a question of if it's on your money or on the public dime. I do think there's a point to that. I don't think he's entirely wrong. But not everybody is running around counting their money like a squirrel counts their nuts, their acorns. I don't think everybody lives like that, because not everybody's motivated the same way. I'm a little bit of an artistic person, and I am a bit out of the box, and I didn't think I'd see 40 because of my heart problems. And I don't think I'll see 50. I've never planned to retire. And watching my grandparents do that was incredible to me, because I thought I will never get that, like, ever, but that's okay. Because of their retirement, I was able to go to a little farmhouse. Well, it's a nice sized farmhouse, and play basketball and climb their mountain that they owned. They owned 120 acres of land. We got to spend time fishing, fishing and going swimming, and they really made an investment in the grandkids and giving us a place that we could call home. My family was my home. And so my grandparents' investments was an investment back into the whole family. We all got a resort where we got to see people that we loved who were happy to see us. So their investment in their retirement served the whole family, especially spend so much time with my grandmother. Not everybody's going to run their money as well as my grandparents did. Not everybody's going to plan the way my grandparents did. It's just, if you were to give everybody the same opportunities given to my family, not everybody would have made hay like they did, because they were really smart and wise about it. They're very careful. Same with Shapiro. And no shade. He comes from a society and from a community where he sees a social net, a social security net that makes sense. Between the Shiva stuff that they do for mourning, where the whole community supports you. Between I'm sure they have a type of health care. I've heard all kinds of stories about how he says if you're down in your elected community, we'll support you. But you have a community that has like-minded people who are motivated by each other. There's not a lot of connectivity between myself and my neighbor. Like, I don't know if I give to my neighbor if they'd make hay with it. And when you live in a society as mixed as ours, that has taught our daughters they shouldn't be mothers, Well, then how are you going to create a social net with a society that tells them not to have children? I mean, your kids are the ones you're supposed to give your house to, and then you live in that house, you die in that house taking care of your kids' children or your grandchildren. How's that a thing when you're telling people that they should just, not have children, or, the other thing? Um, when you have society that doesn't value and the morals or religion, or to have morals, or to see the problem with taking from the younger generation, however the Ponzi scheme works. Um, if we don't have a like mind in this way, we can't all come together and have our own like Jewish net of safety or security financially. And I think that's why the government's there, is because it's saying we're going to create the standard. Like, we are a compassionate country, and you shouldn't be poor because you had all kinds of horrible things happening to you, whether it's your kid had medical issues. Now all your money that you're saving up like a squirrel saving up acorns is now gone to you trying to save your kid's life, or you've had major loss in your life and now you don't have retirement money. Not everybody has the same square life. Not everybody comes to the table with a high IQ, and that's just the truth. Not everybody comes to the table with the same social intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence. Sometimes for some people, life is just happening. They wake up every day and life happens. If you're somebody who suffered ritual abuse as a kid, and you have, times when just the smallest type of stress will have your memory, giving you memory loss, or have your brain splitting, into different personalities. People suffer all kinds of things. Unless you're walking it, you don't entirely understand. I do think there's something that's not compassionate about the fact that because we're not of the same culture or mindset as a society, and because the government has lied, they are being dishonest. They are not telling us about the debt, nor do they care to, because they want to keep their seats, because they want to stay rich. That's a problem. And because we live in a society that's taught us to kill our offspring, that's a problem. So what would be the answer? We're all just supposed to be Shapiros. We're all supposed to have these big empires, whether they're right-leaning, left-leaning empires, running after success that in some people's minds aren't even trying to get. Like, some people are just waking up and saying, I'm trying to get through today. Because when you have loss in your life, that's all you can do. And sometimes that loss can go, and you can feel that for, especially if you lost a loved one, for years. So to say, why don't you just pick yourself up by the bootstraps and make sure you have $500,000 to retire from? Or, to make sure that you don't end up homeless at 70 years old. I don't know if that's very compassionate. And I'm not saying what he's saying is not right. I'm just saying I don't know if it's possible in a society as mixed as ours is. We don't have enough in common. The government has to make the difference. And nor do I agree that the government's doing it correctly. I don't think they are. But I think it's a really big mess. And this is the point. The point is, the response the right is giving, I believe, is emotional. I don't think it's logical. I think it's emotional based. I don't even know if the right really understands why it's doing it. But I'm looking at it and I'm hearing the responses, and I'm hearing the fact that people do want to retire. They do want to finally be relieved and have this burden of getting up and doing the routine every day, that, running on that mill every day. They want to be released from that. Is it healthy? My grandfather found a way to make it healthy. Should we have children being taught not only from a young age, like correctly, about anything other than sexuality, which seems to be the priority right now? Our education system's a mess. Maybe that should be built in. Hey guys, you're going to have to learn how to use these systems in order to retire, because the government's not taking care of you anymore. And you need to maybe have children, because you know what? The government's not going to take care of you. Your children are going to take care of you. Do we culturally have any kind of signals, or educationally have any kind of signals that would help the next generation? No, we're reading queer books to them because we have priorities. So I do think it starts with a lot of things. It could maybe be fixed by the school system. Maybe it should be a priority if we want to release ourselves from Social Security. But it might take a few generations. It would have to be a totally different mindset. Honestly, it had to have morals, because a lot of what he's basing what he's saying on has a lot to do with the fact he has a very solid religious background, and he sees how that network works within his own society. But I'm talking about not just within a family. I'm talking about like neighbors and strangers, or people that are extensions of extensions. Yeah, I've never seen the way that operates with people that you don't really know very well. That's not your bloodline. So I just don't think he understands that he speaks casually of something that we don't even know how to begin to address. And maybe that's the frustration that people are feeling. Maybe that's why the right is so upset, because they don't even know what to do with that information. And maybe because they feel that it's true, because it is true. We can't keep doing it. We're going into too much debt, and it is stealing. It's a Ponzi scheme. And at some point, it's not going to work. It's not going to work anymore. But nobody will tell us the truth, and people are mad because he did. So anyway, this is Linda of Crisis King Forever. May God be with you.